work here as an employee, but I also own one share of the company. I have a say in what happens with the company, which is awesome.
If the company loses money, we take a hit, we have to pay. If we make money after all our other expenses are paid and we've paid out our dividends and invested some back in the company, we get the profit sharing. So we have a stake, we have skin in the game, as they say. It's a real business, we have goals to meet, but there's just this environment that we all love what we're doing, and it's very meaningful to us, and we all want it to work.
EcoExchange is best known for our fair trade coffee. It's what we started with, and it still makes up the lion's share of our activity. And it is our reason for being, is to work with these democratically organized cooperatives of small-scale farmers who normally are exploited by the system. Our goal was to make the market work for the small farmer and for these co-ops owned and governed by the farmers themselves.
Once you see how much work goes into picking that coffee, getting it here, the struggles that the farmers go with, they get this little extra social premium for the fair trade price, and they can choose to invest it in clean water, they can choose to invest it in quality improvements, they can choose to invest it in more mechanized equipment, but then, maybe there's a landslide and they have to spend it on roads so that they can get their product to market or so they can get their kids to school.
Ultimately, we, the worker owners, control our own fate, that we're not at the whims of outside investors. Our company won't be bought and sold out from under us, and that as the owners, we can make sure that EcoExchange stays on mission.
Alrighty, what's your customer ID?
The smartest people that I see on a daily basis are in this building. The most interesting conversations I have in my life are always at the tables at lunch. The biggest challenge that we get is from each other. You end up wearing different hats at different times. So when you're hired, you're a worker. After a year, you have the ability to be voted into the co-op. Being a worker owner who on some level is supervised by management, who is then supervised by the executives of the company, which is then supervised by the board of directors, which could be somewhat in this group in the worker owner body. That circle, sort of the checks and balances of that system is really beautiful.
Americano.
What we're here to do is operate a different kind of business and try to teach consumers the value of a different kind of business. And sometimes that creates an opportunity for us to have a conversation about what sustainable retail food products could look like and what they cost, what the real cost of those things are. And sometimes you've got a line of people and they don't want to have that conversation, and they say, that's too much, and they walk out the door. As a business owner, I can't say, well, I don't need that person, I don't need their business. So I've got to think about, either evaluating our decisions or evaluating how we message it, or say, we're going to make every decision the greenest decision that we can. And if that means that that this isn't the right business for some people to patronize, then that's part of the cost of doing business our way.
But every day we test every roast that we roasted the day before. You grind coffee into the cup, pour hot water on it, and then the grind's actually raised to the top, and then they trap the aroma underneath. And so when you break that crust, you get that first kind of impression of the coffee, which is really intense and exciting. It's basically just a way to check for cleanliness, consistency, and roast level, and making sure that everything that we're producing comes out really well and sweet and delicious with interesting characteristics.
So anyway, what we're going to talk about at this meeting is what the work priorities are for next year.
We've had to learn how to create a place where we could routinely make group decisions, not in a way that everybody gets their way, because that's not going to happen, but to do it in a way that people believe is fair, transparent, and where people have faith in the system, even if they don't get the outcome they wanted on a particular occasion.
We got to put the business first. If we're not moving coffee for farmers, we're not supporting our mission. If we're not bringing money in, we're not building this business. We're not creating a viable business. But once we take care of that, we need to kind of keep managing the co-op and actively developing ourselves as owners of the business. That has to go hand in hand with our day job.
So let me ask this question. So, bananas, was it a risk? Was it an innovation?
I would say it was a risk, and it was also a major innovation because it was a new market that they took a risk to go ahead and jump in.
Allowing for risk helps retain your more innovative employees. Without allowing innovation or risk, you not only risk stagnation as a company, but you also dampen employee retention.
The people who work here are also owners, and they need to know what any owner needs to know. We've made time and dedicated resources to training ourselves to handle the rights and responsibilities of ownership.
Like, what are the conditions that encourage risk or innovation here? What are the obstacles, structural, cultural, self-imposed?
Imagine you start a cafe and you hire a bunch of baristas, and they're all employees of Equal Exchange now, whether they're on track or not, and then you fail, well, 13 people just lost their jobs. That is kind of a risk, right?
That if we go really deep with any risky venture, we have the livelihood of 120, 125 people here at stake. And I think there's a certain knowledge of that and awareness in the back of our heads, like, boy, we blow this one, what are we all going to do for work next year?
If we fail totally, it doesn't just affect us. We have a bigger mission, like we have a social mission, and so if we fail, it also affects the fair trade thing and farmers, and so taking really huge risks affects a lot more people than the 100+ people who work here.
Don't feel discouraged.
Just thinking about innovation was
I don't know if I could work in a normal company. I'm, spoiled at being able to ask our executive directors how they made a certain decision, or tell them what I think about it, and not worry about any kind of repercussions. In fact, they'll probably invite me to sit down, over a glass of wine and talk about it. And it makes me want to work my hardest and give back and do the same thing for the people I supervise.
We have lower turnover. We have a longer institutional memory. We enjoy a word-of-mouth kind of marketing because we have this democratic workplace. Anytime you can increase democracy in some place, like a workplace, that's a good thing. And that makes all those challenges more than worthwhile.
People have offered us a lot of money but said, hey, I want a seat on the board. And they want to tell you how to run your business, and they want you to put their financial returns above all other values. We said, you know what, we really need the money, but the board, people are nominated by the worker owners here, and they're elected by the worker owners, and that's our structure. We're not willing to compromise it.
You're not innovative for...
Yes, we do have a lot of meetings.
What do you call it?
But if we're continuing to deliver on the things that we promised that we're going to deliver on, if we are able to continue to make a difference in fair trade, in coffee, in small farmers' lives, then who's to say that having a lot of meetings doesn't work?
If we can show that we can be successful and grow and be profitable and return dividends to investors and make it work for the farmers, then it's a really potent challenge to all the other companies out there that aren't doing that.
Y fui creciendo y creciendo desde mi mundo de nano y comprendí que las cosas solo serían hermosas cuando luchamos por algo.